There is a very distinct groan that high-end office chairs make when trying to support a man whose confidence far exceeds his intelligence. It sounds like a dying wail echoing through a glass conference room, and that precise noise was the background music to my nightmare. I sat across from our new director of operations, watching him use a laser pointer to dismantle 15 years of my hard work. My name is Paige, and on paper, I am just a logistics strategist. In reality, I am the person who designs the unyielding security protocols that protect our military supply chains from foreign infiltration. The man holding the pointer was Vance, a corporate climber who wore expensive suits without ties and spoke fluent jargon. He tapped my primary security diagram hard enough to leave a smudge on the screen, calling my lifework legacy drag. He claimed my defense handshakes were slowing down his team and that we needed to move toward a trust-based model. I tried explaining that trust is a massive security hole, while verification is the only real currency in national defense. He dismissed my warnings as toxic fear, declaring that we were streamlining the entire vendor portal by the end of the week. Vance was not looking for a compromise because he lived in a world of arbitrary speed metrics rather than real-world consequences. He wanted to strip away the complex verification layers connecting our physical inventory to the classified military servers, just so his weekly report would look impressive. When I pointed out that his new plan would leave our presidential transport fleet vulnerable to compromised hardware, he simply chuckled. He told the room of terrified junior analysts that I was stuck in the past. That was the exact moment I stopped arguing and decided to let the system teach him a lesson. I walked back to my workstation, which was essentially a converted server room deep in the basement. It was the only space in the building with a direct hardline connection to our off-site backups. My assistant, Maya, followed me inside, her hands trembling as she asked if Vance actually understood what he was deleting. I told her the truth, which was that Vance saw safety protocols as simple speed bumps. Instead of fighting his terrible decisions, I spent the afternoon archiving every single email where he ordered the removal of security gates, building a bulletproof paper trail. By Thursday morning, Vance unleashed his new streamlined model, completely stripping our infrastructure of its protective layers. He replaced our rigorous background checks for delivery drivers with a basic web form and fired our head of chemical storage for asking compliance questions. I watched from my monitor as he handed control of critical medical cold chains to an untrained intern. He even revoked my administrator privileges on the procurement network, thinking he had successfully locked me out of the building. But he did not realize I had built the house, and I knew where every hidden backdoor was located. I used an invisible monitoring port I had coded years ago to observe the incoming data stream in real time. It did not take long for disaster to strike. Around noon, an urgent red warning flashed across my terminal, signaling an unverified shipment of navigation chips originating from a known foreign shell company. Vance had manually overridden the system security filter to buy cheap components from an unvetted offshore supplier. Those chips were flagged for containing backdoor surveillance hardware, and they were scheduled to be installed directly into military aircraft. I marched into Vance's office, interrupted his video conference, and told him exactly what he had just done. Instead of panicking, he leaned back in his chair and accused me of being paranoid. He claimed he had vetted the vendor himself through a basic website review, prioritizing cost reduction and 2-day delivery over national security. When I demanded that he recall the shipment immediately, he refused, stating he would not ruin his track record over my boogeyman fears. He then ordered me to stand down and hinted that my position was being eliminated. That was the absolute point of no return. I looked him dead in the eye, confirmed that he was taking personal responsibility for bypassing federal security protocols, and walked out. I went straight to my desk and submitted my immediate resignation, explicitly citing his verbal orders in the document. I packed my personal items into a small cardboard box, handed my physical keycard to a smug Vance, and walked toward the parking lot. As I drove away from the facility, I knew it was only a matter of time before his total ignorance brought the entire operation crashing down. By Friday night, the structural breakdown was already in full swing. Maya texted me that the inventory software was mistakenly labeling jet fuel as drinking water, and Vance had instructed workers to put sticky notes on the storage tanks to fix it. A few hours later, the main server doors began malfunctioning, prompting Vance to prop open multi-million-dollar blast barriers with wooden doorstops. I monitored the chaos remotely through my read-only auditor account, watching the system issue thousands of logic errors as it looked for my missing security clearance. When Vance attempted to force delete my core defense script on Saturday morning to clean up his error log, the mainframe interpreted his action as insider sabotage. The system immediately triggered its internal lockdown sequence, dropping the building into complete darkness before red emergency strobes began flashing. Massive steel blast doors slammed down throughout the facility, trapping Vance and his weekend staff inside. The automated protocol severed all outside network connections, jammed cellular signals, and directly alerted the highest levels of military command at the Pentagon. Within 45 minutes, armed military police breached the facility side doors with thermal torches and secured the building. General Vance was dragged into the primary conference room, sweating profusely and babbling about system glitches, only to be confronted by a 4-star general on the main video screen. The general coldly informed Vance that his unauthorized override had introduced foreign espionage hardware into a federal supply line. Vance tried to blame my legacy code, but the general shut him down instantly, revealing that his actions constituted major security violations. Vance was stripped of his authority and escorted off the premises in handcuffs, facing serious federal charges and the complete destruction of his career. Shortly after the arrest, my personal phone rang, and the general himself asked me to take over the entire security operation under a direct defense contract. I returned to the facility on Tuesday morning to find the Agile banners gone and the military presence restoring order. I sat down at the main terminal, typed in my credentials, and watched as the blast doors lifted, restoring full protection to the network.